The soul has always spoken. The problem is that you chose to listen to fear because it felt safer. If you don't listen to your soul, it's not because it's silent. It's because you chose fear as the guide of your life. Every confusion you live today is the exact price of having repeatedly ignored the voice of your inner truth. Learning how to listen to your soul and be guided by the voice of your inner truth begins with a shock that hurts to admit. If you are still lost, confused, or exhausted, it's not because the soul doesn't speak. It's because you learned to betray yourself every day by pretending not to hear. Inner truth has always been there, clear, simple, and steady, but you smothered that voice with fear, haste, the need to please, and addiction to overthinking until you turned your life into constant noise where nothing feels right. The more you ignore the soul, the emptier you become. The more you try to decide everything with your head, the farther you feel from yourself, and the exhaustion you feel now is the cost of living disconnected from your own truth. Rumi does not promise comfort. He exposes the soul does not shout, it waits, and it only guides those who stop running away. The only real mechanism is brutally simple and impossible to deceive. Stop justifying, stop asking for permission, silence the inner noise, and obey the first true feeling that arises before fear speaks. When you listen to that voice, even while trembling, it reveals everything. What is not you, what needs to fall away, and the next real step. And as long as you don't have the courage to listen, life will keep tightening in exactly the same place. Listening to your soul is not a rare gift. It is the natural state you abandoned in order to adapt, survive, and please. And that is why everything in you now feels misaligned. Rumi did not speak to the curious. He spoke to those who were tired of living far from themselves. The soul always guides, but only when you stop explaining yourself, defending yourself, and negotiating with fear. If you feel confusion, it's not a lack of direction, it's an excess of noise. The practice begins when you recognize that every time something in you tightens, contracts, or feels heavy, that is truth asking for passage. The soul speaks through direct sensation, not through beautiful phrases. Listening is stopping the run. Listening is staying where it hurts without inventing excuses. Listening is allowing truth to pass through you before you try to control it. While you try to understand, it falls silent. When you feel, it guides. You were trained to distrust what you feel, and that is exactly what pulled you away from your inner truth. The mind learned to take command because you were afraid of disappointment, of making mistakes, of losing people, and little by little you set the soul aside. Rumi points out that the greatest mistake is not choosing the wrong path, but failing to hear the call. The practice here is simple and brutal. Every decision you make must pass through the body before it passes through the head. If the body closes, something is wrong. If the body opens, even with fear, there is truth there. The soul guides through silent expansion. Whenever you ignore this, you feel heaviness afterward. Always. Emotion is the price of not listening. The practice is to feel before thinking, to hold that feeling for a few seconds and not to flee from it. This changes everything. The voice of inner truth never comes in a rush, but the ego always arrives running. You feel this clearly when you are about to betray yourself. Urgency appears, anxiety, justification, comparison. The soul does not compete with this, it waits for you to grow tired. Rumi taught that surrender is the gateway, not struggle. In practice, this means stopping the effort to force life to fit a mental plan. When something doesn't flow, when you have to convince yourself too much, when you need to ask everyone for their opinion, that is already a sign that you've moved away from your truth. The soul guides through the obvious simplicity you avoid. The daily practice is to observe where you are forcing yourself. All excessive force is absence of listening. You want signs, but the soul has already spoken. You want confirmation, but the truth has already shown itself. The problem is that listening requires losing an identity. Rumi spoke of death before death, not physical but psychological, letting die the version of you that needs to be seen, accepted, validated. In practice, listening to your soul means saying no to what keeps you safe but empty. It means saying yes to what frightens you but expands you. Emotion here is not drama, it is a compass. Whenever you feel deep relief when imagining a path, even if it is difficult, that is the voice of inner truth. Whenever you feel a false, brief, anxious relief, that is escape. The soul does not speak about the entire future, it speaks about the next true step. The mind hates this because it wants control. Rumi did not promise maps, he promised trust. In practice, this requires radical presence. Today, now, on this day, which choice leaves you more whole, even if less comfortable? This question is not philosophical, it is practical. The answer comes quickly, and you ignore it just as quickly. Listening to your soul is not ignoring it, it is holding the answer without running to something else. The emotion that arises when you hold the truth is strong because it dismantles old lies. That discomfort is healing. You feel tired because you live divided. One part feels, another orders it to shut up. This division consumes energy. Rumi pointed out that hell is this internal separation. The practice of listening is to unite what you feel with what you do. If something in you says don't go, don't go. If it says stay, stay, even if your mind creates 1,000 arguments against it. Each time you honor this voice, it becomes clearer. Each time you betray it, it becomes quieter, not because it disappears, but because you move away. Listening to your inner truth is a practice of daily honesty. It is not a spiritual event, it is a posture. When you wake up already contradicting what you feel, the entire day becomes heavy. When you begin the day by respecting an inner boundary, something aligns. Rumi spoke of the heart as a finely tuned instrument. In practice, tuning it means stopping the violence against yourself. Observe where you say yes while wanting to say no. Observe where you explain yourself too much. There, the soul is being ignored. The emotion that follows is the price of that betrayal. The soul always guides toward greater simplicity. The mind complicates. When something turns into confusion, it is no longer inner truth. The practice is to cut excess. Fewer choices, less noise, less comparison. Rumi taught that the path is narrow because it requires presence. You do not hear your soul amid excess stimulation. You hear it when you slow down enough to feel. This is not isolation, it is clarity. Emotion here is clarity felt in the body, not a pretty thought. Every time you feel discomfort without knowing how to explain it, there is information there. The mind wants to label, the soul wants to be felt. The practice is not to rush to explain. Stay with the discomfort, breathe into it, ask inwardly without words. The answer comes as a sensation, an image, a clear impulse. Rumi pointed out that truth is recognized by the silence it brings afterward. If something leaves you calmer inside, even if difficult, it is true listening. You don't need to become someone else to hear your soul. You need to stop pretending. Emotion erupts because you spent years silencing it. When you begin to listen, everything that was repressed comes to the surface. This is not deterioration, it is cleansing. Rumi spoke of the wound as the place where the light enters. In practice, this means not running from the emotions that arise when you choose truth. Tears, anger, fear are signs of realignment when they don't turn into drama. Listening to your soul requires the courage to disappoint external expectations. As long as you live to maintain an image, inner truth remains secondary. The practice is to ask, does this come from fear or from truth? Fear always wants immediate approval. The soul wants internal coherence. True emotion is deep calm, not euphoria. If something excites you too much, be careful. The soul is steady, not hysterical. Rumi's authority does not come from beautiful phrases, but from lived coherence. He always pointed inward. In practice, this requires emotional discipline, not reacting automatically, not answering everything, not deciding everything immediately, giving space to feel. The soul speaks softly but clearly. The training is to create that space daily, even in chaos. You were taught to seek outside, but everything in you already knows. The practice of listening is unlearning the need to ask for too many opinions, unlearning self-justification, unlearning the denial of what you feel. Each unlearning returns a piece of your truth. Emotion here is a return to center. You know when you are centered. The body knows. Every aligned choice strengthens the next. Every betrayal weakens the next act of listening. This is an inner law. Rumi spoke of trust, not perfection. If you fail while listening, you learn. If you fail by betraying yourself, you repeat. The practice is simple. Failing while being faithful hurts less than succeeding while betraying yourself. The soul guides even when the path is uncomfortable. Listening to your inner truth changes your relationships. You stop molding yourself. This creates conflict, but also relief. The emotion of being truly seen begins when you see yourself. Rumi pointed out that real love is born from truth, not adaptation. In practice, this means speaking what is real without aggression, but without lies. The soul does not negotiate values. When you negotiate, you become ill. The practice is to identify where you sold yourself little by little. The body shows it. Tension, insomnia, irritation are clear signs. Listening is correcting the course before the price increases. Emotion here is a warning, not an enemy. You don't need to wait until you're ready. Listening is what prepares you. Rumi did not speak to the ready, he spoke to the willing. In practice, willingness is acting even while trembling. Inner truth grows through coherent action, not through thought. Every time you honor your soul, something organizes itself outside. Not by magic, but by alignment. The practice is daily, small, constant. Simple choices made in truth change entire lives. Emotion here is depth, not empty intensity. The soul always guides toward more life. If something drains you, it is not truth. If something frightens you but expands you, observe it. Rumi pointed out that the right kind of fear accompanies truth. The wrong kind paralyzes. The practice is to feel the difference in the body. Listening to your soul doesn't make you special, it makes you whole. And wholeness disturbs those who live divided. That is part of the path. The practice is to sustain your truth without needing to prove anything. Emotion here is inner solidity. If you made it this far, Something in you is already listening. The question is not to understand more, but to stop running in the next moment when truth arises, because it will arise. And when it does, the choice will be simple, direct, and inevitable: to listen and move forward, or to ignore and repeat. And it is exactly at that point that something even deeper begins to reveal itself, if you have the courage to remain present when the soul speaks again. Listening to your soul requires stopping the lies you tell yourself in the small details, because that is where truth is betrayed first. You don't get lost all at once. You abandon yourself gradually each time you ignore a discomfort, each time you force yourself to fit where you don't belong. Rumi never pointed to an external path. He always pointed to this exact moment when something inside you says, "This is not true," and you choose to silence it. Real practice begins when you start respecting these simple signals. If something feels heavy, stop. If something tightens, step back. If something opens your chest, move forward. The soul guides through direct sensation, and the more you obey it, the clearer it becomes. You think listening to the soul is something grand, mystical, distant, but in practice it is everyday and raw. It is noticing exhaustion before collapse. It is respecting limits before explosion. It is saying no before resentment. The emotion you feel when you ignore these signs is a warning, not weakness. Rumi taught that truth does not shout because it doesn't need to convince. The ego shouts because it is afraid of disappearing. Every time you feel too much urgency, too much anxiety, too much explanation, know this: the soul has already been set aside. The soul speaks first, always. The problem is that you learn to respond too quickly. The practice is to create a small space between feeling and acting. 2 seconds of silence already change everything. In that space, truth appears as simple clarity. It doesn't come in long sentences. It comes as go, stay, stop, leave. Emotion here is not confusion, it is direction. Confusion arises when you begin to argue with that voice. Listening is not arguing. You are conditioned to trust fear more than truth. Fear seems logical, responsible, safe. The soul seems risky because it asks for coherence. Rumi spoke of the silent courage of being truthful. In practice, courage is following what you feel, even without applause. Every time you choose the soul, something in you relaxes deeply afterward. That relaxation is the clearest sign of alignment. Listening to your inner truth also means accepting loss. Losing shallow relationships, losing wrong paths, losing old versions of yourself. The emotion that arises in this process is grief, not error. Rumi never romanticized the path. He was direct. Truth costs everything that is false. In practice, this means not insisting where the soul has already withdrawn. When something ends internally, insisting externally only prolongs the pain. The soul does not speak in terms of right and wrong, it speaks in terms of true and false. You feel this clearly when you do the right thing and still feel empty. The practice is to stop using external values as a compass. The body is the compass. If the body hardens, there is a lie. If the body releases, there is truth. Emotion here is raw information, not something to be controlled. Every time you force yourself to continue something that has already died inside, life begins to jam. Nothing flows. Everything weighs you down. This is not bad luck. It is internal coherence being broken. Rumi pointed out that pain is a call to return to center. In practice, this requires humility to admit, I am not listening to myself. That recognition alone reopens listening. Listening to your soul in daily life requires less talking and more attention. You lose listening when you keep commenting on everything, explaining everything, reacting to everything. The practice is to observe more than respond. The soul reveals itself in the pause. Emotion here is silent presence, not spiritual agitation. You don't need to understand your soul to follow it. Understanding comes later. Rumi spoke of walking in the dark with trust. In practice, this means taking a true step even without knowing where it leads. The mind wants guarantees. The soul wants fidelity. Every time you choose fidelity, something reorganizes inside and outside. Inner truth never humiliates you, but it may dismantle your pride. If something makes you excessively defensive, observe it. The soul does not need to defend itself. Defensive emotion is a sign of a wounded ego. The practice is to drop the defense and listen to what is truly being touched. Listening to your soul also changes your relationship with time. You stop rushing. Hurry is almost always escape. The practice is to slow down important decisions. When you slow down, truth rises. When you speed up, fear takes over. Rumi pointed to patience as a form of listening. You feel exhausted because you live against yourself. It's not a lack of physical rest, it's a lack of alignment. The practice of listening restores energy. Every true choice returns a portion of your vital force. Emotion here is vitality, not euphoria. The soul does not speak when you are too distracted. Excess stimulation dulls listening. The practice is to reduce noise, fewer screens, fewer voices, less comparison. Not as a moral rule, but as internal hygiene. Rumi spoke of simplicity as a gateway. Every time you betray yourself, something remains unresolved inside you. That unresolved piece turns into anxiety. Listening is closing internal loops. It is acting according to what you feel, even if it creates external discomfort. Emotion here is deep relief, not superficial comfort. Listening to your inner truth requires taking full responsibility for your own life. No blaming people, no blaming the past, no blaming destiny. Rumi pointed to spiritual maturity as assuming one's own center. In practice, this is stopping the outsourcing of choices. The soul always leads you toward more truth, never toward more performance. If something requires you to pretend, adjust, or hide, observe it. The practice is to be the same inside and out. Emotion here is felt integrity. You don't lose people by listening to your soul. You lose relationships built on your self-denial. That hurts, but it cleans. Rumi spoke of love born from truth, not dependence. In practice, listening to the soul purifies bonds. Listening to your soul doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. Clarity is sometimes mistaken for harshness by those who live in confusion. Emotion here is calm firmness, not aggression. Inner truth does not change with mood, it is constant. The practice is to distinguish emotional impulse from deep voice. Impulse is urgent, the soul is stable. You feel the difference in the body when you observe honestly. Each time you honor the soul, it trusts you more. Each time you ignore it, you move farther from yourself. This is not punishment, it is relationship. The practice is to build daily internal trust through small, coherent choices. You don't need to announce that you are listening to your soul. Alignment shows itself. Less effort, more presence, more coherence. Rumi never taught spiritual self-promotion. He taught lived truth. If you feel that something has not yet been fully spoken inside you, it is because listening is only beginning. The next layer doesn't come with words. It comes with action. And the question that remains alive now is not what you will understand later, but whether you will have the courage to listen again when the soul speaks in the next simple, ordinary, decisive moment that is already approaching. Listening to your soul begins when you stop violating yourself to fit into situations that have already expelled you on the inside. You feel this every day. In that tightness in your chest when you say yes while wanting to say no, in that strange fatigue after pleasing someone, in that sense of living a life that looks right on the outside and wrong on the inside. Rumi never spoke of psychological comfort. He spoke of felt truth. The real practice is simple and uncomfortable. Do not move against what you feel. When something in you locks up, stop. When something in you relaxes, move forward. That is listening to the soul in real time. You learned to respect schedules, rules, expectations, but you did not learn to respect your own internal signals. And that is why your inner truth feels distant. It is not distant, you moved away from it. The practice is to relearn trust in the first feeling, before justification. The first feeling never lies. The emotion that comes afterward is the ego trying to negotiate. Rumi pointed out that truth is naked. Fear is what gets dressed. Listening to your soul is not following impulses. It is following inner coherence. Impulse is urgent and confused. The soul is firm and simple. In practice, observe this. When a decision comes from the soul, it does not demand haste. It demands honesty. You feel fear, but you feel clarity. When it comes from the ego, you feel agitation, comparison, the need for approval. This contrast is the daily training of listening. You feel tired because you keep breaking agreements with yourself. Small agreements, but constant ones. The practice of listening is restoring those agreements. If you feel you need to rest, rest. If you feel you need to speak, speak. If you feel you need to leave, leave. Every time you honor the soul, something in you recomposes. Emotion here is inner restoration, not euphoria. The soul speaks through the body because the body does not lie. Tension is an accepted lie. Relaxation is an assumed truth. Rumi spoke of the heart as a center of perception. In practice, this means leaving the head and descending into feeling. Before deciding, bring attention to the chest, to the breath, to the belly. The answer arrives as a clear sensation. This is real guidance. Listening to your inner truth requires stopping the outsourcing of decisions. As long as you ask for too many opinions, you do not trust yourself. And while you do not trust, the soul grows quiet. The practice is to reduce interference. Decide less, but decide aligned. The emotion that arises when you decide for yourself is responsibility, not guilt. Responsibility returns power. You were taught to fear mistakes. But Rumi pointed out that erring while listening to the soul is learning. Erring by betraying yourself is prison. In practice, choose to err while being faithful. That frees you. The fear of making mistakes diminishes when you realize the greatest mistake was always not listening to yourself. Emotion here is emotional maturity, not perfection. Listening to your soul also means accepting moments of being alone, not physically, but internally. When you stop adapting, some people move away. That hurts, but it aligns. Rumi spoke of fertile solitude. where truth ripens. In practice, do not rush to fill emptiness. Stay with it. The soul speaks in silence. Every time you ignore inner truth, something repeats. Situations, patterns, conflicts. This is not bad luck, it is the soul insisting. The practice is to observe repetitions without victimizing yourself. Where are you betraying yourself in the same way again and again? The emotion that arises when you see this is liberating discomfort. Listening to your soul requires courage to change familiar routes. The familiar feels safe, even when it hurts. The soul asks for the new that is true. In practice, this means taking small steps out of autopilot, small but aligned. Emotion here is living fear, not paralyzing fear. Inner truth does not compete with the world. It does not argue, debate, or prove. It simply points. When you begin to listen, you speak less and act more. Rumi taught by example, not by persuasion. In practice, let your coherence speak for you. You feel anxious because you live divided between what you feel and what you do. Listening to the soul is aligning feeling and action. When that happens, anxiety diminishes without effort. Emotion here is active peace, not numbness. Listening to your inner truth changes your relationship with success. You stop chasing what looks good and begin moving toward what is true. That is frightening because it does not follow patterns. Rumi never followed patterns. In practice, observe this. What are you pursuing for status rather than for truth? There lies the disconnection. The soul always guides toward more truth, not more comfort. When you choose comfort over truth, comfort becomes a prison. The practice is choosing discomforts that liberate. Emotion here is inner expansion. You do not need blind trust, you need felt trust. The practice of listening is testing. Follow the soul in small things and observe the result. Trust grows through experience, not belief. Rumi spoke of a lived path, not an imagined one. Listening to your soul requires stopping survival mode. Survival is reaction. The soul is direction. In practice, this means leaving autopilot, asking before acting, feeling before responding. This changes everything. Inner truth does not change its mind with mood. It is stable. The training is to differentiate passing emotion from deep truth. Passing emotion is intense and short-lived. Deep truth is calm and constant. The body recognizes it. Listening to your soul also means stopping the distraction from yourself. The more you flee, the farther you go. The practice is simple presence, being where you are, feeling what you feel without escape. Emotion here is intimacy with yourself. You do not need to become spiritual to hear your soul. You need to stop abandoning yourself. Rumi spoke to tired humans, not to enlightened characters. In practice, listening is being honest even when it is not pretty. Every aligned choice builds an inner axis. Over time, you become unshakable, not because nothing affects you, but because you do not betray yourself. Emotion here is inner solidity. Listening to your inner truth is a daily commitment, not an event. Small choices, made with fidelity, change entire destinies. Rumi pointed out that the path reveals itself by walking. In practice, listen now, in this simple moment, because it is always here that the soul speaks. And if something in you feels there are deeper layers to this listening, it is not curiosity. It is a call. The question that remains alive is not whether the soul speaks, but whether you will be present, open, and honest enough to hear it again when it speaks in the next silent instant already forming within you. Listening to your soul begins when you stop abandoning yourself in the small moments, because that is where truth is betrayed first. You feel it when you force yourself, when you shrink, when you say it's fine, and something inside you screams that it isn't. Rumi pointed to this simple, direct listening. Feel before you explain. The practice is to interrupt the impulse to justify yourself and remain with the raw sensation. If it tightens, step back. If it opens, move forward. Don't argue, obey. The soul guides when you stop negotiating. You think you don't hear the soul because it is silent, but the truth is that the noise is yours. Hurry, comparison, fear of making mistakes, fear of losing. The daily practice is to slow down decisions. 2 seconds of silence change the route. In that interval, truth appears clearly without drama. Emotion here is direction, not confusion. Confusion is born when you try to convince yourself otherwise. Listening to your inner truth requires the courage to endure the discomfort of being honest. Honesty hurts at first because it dismantles old lies. Rumi did not promise comfort, he promised freedom. The practice is to stay with the discomfort without fleeing. When you hold it, the body releases. That release is the sign of alignment. It always has been. The soul speaks through the body because the body does not lie. Tension is a warning. Relaxation is inner agreement. The practice is to bring attention to the chest before acting. If it closes, stop. If it opens, go. Emotion here is a compass. The more you trust it, the clearer it becomes. The more you ignore it, the heavier it feels. You grow tired because you live divided. One part feels, another orders it to be silent. This division consumes energy. Listening to the soul is uniting feeling and action. The practice is simple. Do what feels true, even with fear. The right kind of fear accompanies truth, the wrong kind paralyzes. The body knows the difference. Inner truth does not ask for haste. Urgency is fear. The practice is to distrust urgency. When something is true, it remains even after silence. Emotion here is stability. If it changes quickly, it is not the soul. If it remains firm, listen. Listening to your soul also means losing what is not true, relationships, paths, roles. This hurts, but it cleans. Rumi spoke of the death of the false. The practice is not to insist where the soul has already left. When you insist, the cost increases. You want guarantees, but the soul offers only the next step. The practice is to trust the step, not the map. Emotion here is presence. The mind wants the future. The soul asks for now. Obey the true now. Inner truth does not humiliate, but it dismantles defenses. If something makes you defensive, observe it. The practice is to drop the defense and feel what was touched. Defensive emotion is a wounded ego. The soul is firm and calm. Listening to your soul changes your relationship with time. You stop running. The practice is to do less, but aligned. Fewer choices, more truth. Emotion here is depth, not empty intensity. You lose listening when you speak too much. The practice is to observe more than respond. The soul speaks in the interval. Create intervals, be silent, feel. Emotion here is silent clarity. Inner truth does not compete with opinions. While you seek validation, you do not trust. The practice is to decide for yourself and sustain it. Emotion here is responsibility. Responsibility restores power. Listening to your soul is not following impulse. Impulse is agitated. The soul is simple. The practice is to distinguish them. Impulse demands haste. The soul asks for coherence. Feel it in the body. It knows. You repeat patterns because you ignore warnings. The practice is to observe repetitions without victimizing yourself. Where do you always betray yourself? Emotion here is discomfort that liberates when seen. The soul guides towards simplicity. Complication is escape. The practice is to cut excess. Less stimulation, more presence. Emotion here is solid lightness. Listening to your inner truth changes your bonds. You stop molding yourself. Some drift away, others come closer, truly. The practice is not to negotiate values. Emotion here is felt, integrity. Anxiety diminishes when feeling and action align. The practice is alignment. Don't overthink. Do what is true. Emotion here is active peace. The soul does not change with mood. Deep truth is constant. The practice is to let silence confirm it. Emotion here is quiet certainty. You don't need to become special. You need to stop abandoning yourself. The practice is daily fidelity. Small true choices build an unshakable axis. Emotion here is solidity. Listening to your soul is a daily commitment. It is not an event. It is a posture. Today now, what is the next true step? Feel it. Don't argue. Do it. And when the next truth arises, because it will, the question won't be whether you heard it, but whether you had the courage to obey once again. Listening to your soul begins when you accept that the greatest abandonment of your life did not come from outside. It came from you. You were the one who put yourself last, who silenced yourself so as not to disturb, who bent so as not to lose. The practice of listening is to stop this pattern immediately. Every time something in you shrinks, a truth is being denied. The emotion that arises there is not weakness, it is a signal. Listening is respecting the signal before it turns into pain. The soul guides at first as a whisper because you went deaf living against yourself. You don't need to search for your inner truth, you need to stop running from it. It appears whenever you stay silent for a few seconds and feel the body. The practice is simple. Before responding, feel. Before accepting, feel. Before continuing, feel. True feeling is calm even when it frightens you. Confusion comes when you begin to argue against what you feel. Emotion here is direct direction. Listening to your soul requires breaking the addiction to justification. You explain yourself too much because you know you are betraying yourself. The practice is to cut the explanation and stay with the raw sensation. When something is true, it does not need to be defended. The body recognizes it. The soul guides when you stop trying to convince yourself otherwise. You feel heavy because you carry choices that are not yours. Expectations, roles, promises made against your own feeling. The practice of listening is to return what is not yours. Saying no to what weighs you down is saying yes to truth. Emotion here is the deep relief that comes after courage. The soul does not speak in beautiful sentences, it speaks in simple clarity. Enough, go, stay, stop are briefs. The practice is to obey these inner words without ornament. Every time you ignore them, something in you hardens. Every time you obey, something releases. That release is the most reliable guide there is. You grow tired because you live in internal disagreement. The practice is to align what you feel with what you do. You don't need to change everything, just stop violating yourself in small gestures. Emotion here is the recomposition of your vital energy. Listening to your soul begins when you admit that the greatest pain did not come from what happened, but from what you felt and pretended not to feel. That pretending became a habit, and the habit became a life. Rumi always pointed to this simple point. Inner truth appears when you stop deceiving yourself. The practice is raw. Recognize the first discomfort and do not push it down. When you recognize it, something in you breathes. That breathing is the soul returning to command. You don't hear your soul because you learn to distract yourself from yourself. Distraction is not leisure, it is escape. The practice of listening is to interrupt the escape in small moments. Before picking up your phone, feel. Before responding automatically, feel. Feeling comes quickly and clearly. Emotion here is not drama, it is direct signaling of truth. Listening to your inner truth requires stopping the need to ask permission to exist. You explain yourself because you are afraid of losing. The practice is to act without over-explaining. When something is true, the body holds it. When it is not, you need to justify it. This difference is obvious when you stop to feel. The soul does not speak loudly because it does not need to compete. What competes is fear. The practice is to notice when urgency appears. Urgency is almost always escape. Stay with silence for a few seconds and observe what remains. What remains is inner truth. You feel confused because you live trying to please external versions of success. The practice is to ask, does this make me whole or merely accepted? Emotion here is wholeness. Acceptance without wholeness turns into emptiness. Rumi pointed out that truth liberates because it unifies. Listening to your soul is training in boundaries. Boundaries do not push truth away, they protect it. The practice is to respect the limit before exhaustion. When you respect it, energy returns. Emotion here is recovered vitality. Inner truth manifests as simplicity. If something requires masks, constant adjustments, performance, observe it. The practice is to remove layers, not add techniques. The soul guides when you show up as you are. You lose yourself when you react. The practice is to respond from feeling. Responding requires presence. Reacting requires escape. Emotion here is active presence, not passivity. Listening to your soul requires accepting that some pains are not meant to be avoided, they are meant to be crossed. The practice is not to anesthetize true feelings. When you feel them to the end, something dissolves. That dissolution is the soul clearing the path. The mind wants control. The soul wants coherence. The practice is to choose coherence even without control. Emotion here is silent courage. Rumi never spoke of guarantees. He spoke of fidelity to what is real. You repeat stories because you ignore signals. The practice is to observe patterns without blaming yourself. Where does the body always close? Where does it always feel heavy? There lies the truth asking to be heard. Emotion here is discomfort that guides. Listening to your inner truth changes how you work, relate, and decide. You stop forcing results. The practice is to align intention and action. When you align them, effort decreases. Emotion here is real flow. The soul does not argue with reasoning, it shows itself through sensations. The practice is to trust those sensations. The more you trust them, the clearer they become. When you ignore them, they grow more intense. Intensity is the price of internal deafness. You feel anxious because you live too far ahead. The practice is to return to now. The soul only speaks in the now. Emotion here is grounding, not thought. Listening to your soul also means accepting that not everything needs to be resolved today. The practice is to hold truth without acting impulsively. Deep truth does not rush, it waits for alignment. Inner truth does not change to please you, it remains. The practice is to test it over time. If after silence the sensation remains, listen. Emotion here is calm constancy. You betray yourself when you promise what you cannot sustain. The practice is to promise less and fulfill what you feel. Emotion here is restored internal trust. Listening to your soul does not isolate you, it positions you. Those who stay, stay for truth. Those who leave, leave for incoherence. The practice is to accept the natural adjustment of bonds. Emotion here is living honesty. The soul guides towards smaller, truer choices. The practice is to start small. Small, aligned choices change entire routes. Emotion here is real progress. You don't need to become someone new. You need to stop denying who you are. The practice is to remove daily denials. Emotion here is inner recognition. Listening to your inner truth is a repeated act, not a single event. Every time you feel and obey, the channel opens wider. Every time you ignore it, it narrows. The question that remains alive now is not whether you understand this, but whether you will pause, feel, and obey when the next simple truth arises, because it will arise, and decide whether this time you listen or abandon yourself again. How listening to your soul and being guided by the voice of your inner truth does not begin with peace, but with discomfort. Because if you are not listening to your soul today, it is because something in you learned to survive by moving away from it, and that is painful to admit. There is a deep exhaustion in you, not from the world, but from trying to decide everything with your mind, from asking for signs, from searching outside, while inside there is a quiet, steady, constant voice you learn to ignore. Rumi points to this with Sufi clarity. The problem is not that the soul doesn't speak, it's that the ego shouts. Ego here is not pride, it is the habit of protecting yourself, controlling, justifying, explaining everything so you don't have to feel. The soul does not compete with this noise, it waits. And while you run after paths, it remains still, silent, waiting for you to stop as well. That is why you feel confusion when you think too much, and a strange certainty when you simply feel even without being able to explain it. That certainty is the voice of your inner truth, and it does not ask permission to exist, only space. Rumi teaches that truth does not enter through the mind, it reveals itself when something false falls away. Listening to the soul is not about adding practices, it is about removing lies. Observe your life with brutal honesty. How many choices did you make trying to be accepted, safe, recognized, and how many did you make because something in you knew without words that it was the right path? Every time you moved away from that inner voice, something became heavy, dry, empty, even if outwardly it looked right. And every time you followed it, even with fear, there was a sense of alignment difficult to explain, as if you were finally in the right place within yourself. Sufism calls this remembrance because the soul does not learn who it is, it remembers. Inner truth does not come from the future, it rises from within like an old familiar scent, impossible to confuse once you stop running. Here is the confrontation. You don't listen to your soul because listening requires losing something. Losing the image, losing the excuse, losing control. Rumi speaks of surrender not as weakness but as deep intelligence. To surrender is to stop fighting what you truly feel. The soul speaks through the body, through intuition, through discomfort, through that clear sensation of this is not for me or this is the way before any argument appears. When you ignore this, the body gets sick, the mind grows tired, and life begins to repeat the same patterns, not as punishment but as a loving insistence of truth trying to be heard. The voice of the soul does not shout because it does not need to convince, it simply is. The one who tries to convince is fear. Listening to your inner truth is a simple and radical act, becoming inwardly silent enough to feel what you already know. It is not meditation as a technique, it is honesty as a state. Right now, if you stop agreeing with everything your mind says, there is something in you that knows exactly what is misaligned in your life. Perhaps a relationship, a job, a posture, a mask. The soul does not speak in beautiful sentences, it speaks in clarity, and that clarity often asks for courage, not comfort. Rumi never promised ease, he pointed to freedom. And freedom begins when you trust what you feel deeply more than what the world expects from you. The more you listen to this inner voice, the stronger it becomes. Not because it changes, but because the noise diminishes. Sufism teaches that a clean heart is a mirror, and when it is covered with fear, haste, and comparison, nothing reflects. Cleaning the heart is not about being good, it is about being true. It is saying no when everything in you wants to say yes out of fear, and saying yes when everything in you wants to run. The soul guides through alignment, not promises. It does not show the entire path, only the next true step. And that frightens the ego because the ego wants guarantees, the soul wants presence. If you feel this video tightening something inside you, it is not accusation, it is recognition. Something in you is remembering. Rumi spoke to those who were already tired of explaining themselves to the world and ready to finally listen to themselves. The question was never how to listen to your soul. The real question is, what will you do when you listen? Because inner truth does not negotiate, does not adapt, does not fall silent to please you. It reveals everything, but it demands coherence. And that is exactly where the real journey begins. Not in understanding, but in the silent choice to stop abandoning yourself, even when it changes everything, even when it has not yet been fully revealed. Because the next layer of this listening begins where most people give up, and that is where something even deeper starts to call. If something in you was touched, it wasn't because you learned something new, it was because you remembered. The voice of your inner truth was never absent. You simply learned to ignore it in order to survive. This channel exists for a single purpose, to give you back the listening of the soul, without fantasy, without escape, without spiritual makeup. Subscribe if you are ready to stop abandoning yourself. Activate the bell if you want to keep being confronted, not comforted. Become a member if you feel the time has come to go deeper, away from the noise and closer to the truth that does not lie. As Rumi taught, truth does not call those who want to learn. It calls those who are already tired of running.